Hey guys, today we're doing a stat breakdown for Poirier vs Gaethje 2 at UFC 291, including striking stats, grappling stats, records, and at the end I'll go through how I think each guy can get it done and who gets it done on the day. First, looking at the general striking stats, Gaethje has a significantly higher strike accuracy, although he does throw a lot of leg kicks which are easier to land. Both fighters have a near identical strike defense, whereas Gaethje has the much higher strike output. Both of these fighters have a really different split of the strikes they throw. Poirier is a headhunter, throwing more than 80% of strikes to the head and evenly splitting his body and leg shots, whereas Gaethje is a lumberjack who chops his opponents down, throwing leg strikes as 27.7% of his total striking output. Poirier is near unstoppable when he's even mildly accurate, with a 19-3 record when he's above 45% strike accuracy. Furthermore, those three losses were against some solid competition in McGregor, Johnson, and Oliveira. There are no clear correlations between his opponent's strike accuracy and the outcome, although we can see it has been increasing in recent times. However, 8 of Poirier's last 9 fights have been against guys who have fought for a title before, so the increase in strike accuracy of his opponents may be due to the quality of his competition. Gaethje's strike accuracy has been very consistent and high recently, at an average of 64.5% in his last 6 fights. It's also notable that his accuracy recently has been far higher than his first fight against Poirier. Gaethje has some dependence on his opponent's strike accuracy, in that 3 of his 4 losses came when his opponent struck above 40%, although he has had 5 wins when this happened also. This may be concerning though, since Poirier strikes at 50% accuracy. Poirier is a knockdown machine, landing knockdowns in 6 of 17 lightweight fights, and in 5 of those 6 fights he followed up with a knockout, with the one loss coming to Oliveira. Poirier also has one of the more underrated chins in the UFC, being knocked down only twice in 30 UFC fights, and has only been knocked down by Johnson at lightweight. Gaethje is also a knockout machine, landing 5 knockdowns in his past 8 fights, although he does rely on knockdowns to win, since he's 4-1 with a knockdown and 3-3 without a knockdown. Gaethje is known for his crazy chin, and has only been knocked down twice in his UFC career. However, whilst he's near impossible to knock down, he was finished immediately after getting knocked down both times. Poirier cannot afford to get outstruck. He has a record of 18-1 when winning the striking differential, and a record of 3-5 when losing the striking differential, noting that those 3 wins were all in fights where the striking differential was under 5 strikes. Gaethje also cannot afford to get outstruck, and is 6-1 when winning the strike differential, and is 1-3 when losing the strike differential. What's particularly interesting about this is that Gaethje rarely goes to a decision, so it's not like he's just landing more strikes and cruising to a decision win. Now, onto the grappling stats. Poirier is the more active wrestler, landing way more takedowns and having a higher takedown accuracy. However, Gaethje does have exceptional takedown defense, which he showed off in the Chandler fight. However, once on the ground, Poirier goes for submissions, having landed 4 submissions in his career, whereas Gaethje has not yet attempted a submission in the UFC. It's all over when Dustin lands a takedown, and he's 12-1 with a takedown landed. It's also notable that he has 6 decision wins when he lands a takedown, so if he takes the fight to the ground, a decision is the most likely outcome. In a similar vein, Poirier cannot afford to get taken down himself, as he was taken down in more than 50% of his losses. But at this point, it's unlikely that Gaethje will try to take him down, since he rarely goes for a takedown, although he did have 3 attempts in his last fight and 0 in his last Poirier fight, so maybe he's going to change his tactics this time. Gaethje also is in trouble when he gets taken down, having been taken down in 50% of his losses. However, last time he defended all 5 of Poirier's takedown attempts, so I feel like Poirier will need to finish Gaethje on the feet if he wants to win. Control time Poirier is a mythical fighter, since Poirier has a 100% win rate since moving to the lightweight division when he has only 50 seconds of control time or more. Once again, we can see wrestling is the key to beating Poirier. Since 5 of his 7 losses, he has conceded 150 seconds of control time or more, so Gaethje might have to show his All-American wrestling ability if he wants to win. However, Gaethje rarely shows this wrestling ability, and he's never passed 100 seconds of control time, whereas 150 seconds is the benchmark to beat Poirier. Gaethje's wrestling defense is superb, and he rarely gets controlled, although when he does get controlled, he gets submitted quickly, so whilst I don't see Poirier landing a takedown, if he gets him down, he can definitely submit him. Before getting into my predictions, let's have a quick look at records. Poirier is 22-7 in the UFC, whereas Gaethje is 7-4. So it's clear that Poirier has a much better win-loss ratio, although Gaethje did fight the top of the division from day one. And we can see this reflected in the combined opponents' win record. Poirier's opponents are 298 and 191 in the UFC, whereas Gaethje's opponents are 158 and 84 in the UFC. So we can see Gaethje on average has fought better opponents since he didn't have to climb the ranks like Poirier. Poirier does not mess around in the octagon though, finishing 11 fights by knockout, 4 by submission, and only a third of his wins have come by decision. Gaethje does back up his name, however, as the most violent man in the UFC, landing 5 knockouts in 7 wins. Looking at loss methods, Poirier does not have a preferred loss method, losing by decision twice, KO twice, and submission 3 times. On the other hand, Gaethje is here for a good time, not a long time, and has been finished in all of his losses, 2 by knockout and 2 by submission. To summarise the key points of this fight, both fighters rely on the strike differential to win. Poirier is 18-1 when winning the strike differential, and Gaethje is 6-1. Poirier is hard to finish and has only been knocked down once at lightweight, whereas Gaethje tends to rely on knockdowns to win, having a 4-1 record with a knockdown and only a 50-50 record when not landing a knockdown. And it seems that the way to beat Poirier is to control him, since 5 of his 7 losses have come after he conceded 150 seconds or more of control time. However, Gaethje has never landed more than 100 seconds of control in his UFC career. My prediction for how each guy gets it done. For Poirier to win, he keeps the fight on the feet, and his strike accuracy is too high for Gaethje, who relies on his chin too often. I see him breaking down Gaethje towards the end of the first round and landing a KO in the second. On the other hand, I feel like Gaethje needs to wrestle to win, although I'm not sure if he will. If he does, his high altitude training will help him immensely in the altitude of Salt Lake City, and I can see him winning a 29-28 decision. If I was to pick a winner for this fight, I would have to go with Poirier, because his striking is too crisp and Gaethje tends to rely on his chin and can get egged on by the crowd to make bad decisions. And just a quick note, I'm not soliciting gambling advice, and this video is for entertainment purposes. And that's the end of this video. Let me know what you think is going to happen, or anything I missed in the comments. Please like, comment, subscribe, share, support the Patreon if you enjoy the content, and as always, enjoy the fights.